When I finally reached my dream, he didn't celebrate. He accused me of cheating. I worked for years to build my dream. When I finally made it, the man I loved didn't celebrate. He accused me of being unfaithful. That was the moment I realized his love was only unconditional until I outgrew him. Last week, I took my boyfriend. We've been together for 5 years, out on a date to celebrate a major milestone in my career. Since 2014, I've been working diligently to bring a very complex project from concept to reality. Over the past 6 years, I've put myself in a better position professionally, and recently, I secured investor backing to move the project forward. Tony, who's an engineer, and I met in college. I've always admired his intelligence and saw him as my ideal partner. I had envisioned a quiet, celebratory dinner, a chance for us to reconnect, support each other, and then share a romantic evening. Instead, the conversation took a turn I didn't expect. He expressed serious doubts, saying I was being unrealistic and taking on more than I could handle. It felt like his message was, "Who do you think you are?" I tried to explain that I wasn't being reckless, that I've worked very hard to build a credible track record and form strong professional connections to help ensure the project's success. Despite this, he made several dismissive comments, implying disbelief and disapproval. He told me he didn't think anything would come of it, and that I had compromised myself, which he said concerned him. Looking back, I regret not standing up for myself in the moment. Instead, I've been quietly processing everything. We had long-term plans: marriage, raising a blended family, growing old together, and now I'm questioning everything. He didn't congratulate me. He didn't even offer a simple kiss to acknowledge the moment. I haven't even cried because I still feel numb. His words really hurt. He suggested that I'd only come this far because of luck. Later, when I went home and tried to talk to him about it, he doubled down and even implied that I might have been unfaithful, that there's no way I could have achieved this on my own. I asked if he felt threatened because the project involves his industry, which he's passionate about. He denied it, but this felt like a wake-up call. We tried talking again 2 nights ago, but I left his place feeling even more discouraged. He told me he wants a partner to enjoy life with, and that I'm too old to be chasing such an ambitious goal, that I should have done this earlier. That confused me, especially since he used to say he wanted a driven, successful woman by his side. He now says I need to choose between reality, our relationship, and what he sees as a fantasy. I reminded him how hurtful it was to suggest I got ahead by compromising my values, especially since he knows I faced inappropriate behavior in the workplace in the past, something he used to be very empathetic about. But now, he accused me of being manipulative. He called me last night as if nothing had happened. I ended things. I told him to take a hard look at himself and consider why past relationships didn't work out. He said I was using personal things he had shared with me against him, and that he felt betrayed. I texted back, saying I'm not responsible for how he reacts when confronted with the consequences of his own behavior. Now he's been asking me to apologize. He sounds different, maybe sad or reflective, and claims I used his painful past against him. His ex-wife divorced him, and a former fiancé left him before their wedding. I don't feel I owe him an apology. I didn't bring up those experiences specifically. I only pointed out that he needed to think about why people walk away. Since the breakup, I've had time to reflect, and while part of me is still grieving the loss of the relationship we built over 5 years, another part feels a sense of clarity. His reaction to my success, instead of support or pride, was discouragement, distrust, and even accusations. That says a lot, not just about the state of our relationship, but about how he truly saw me. I don't think he ever expected me to reach this level. Maybe not because he didn't believe I was capable, but because it challenged a dynamic he had grown comfortable with. I was always supportive of his work, his goals, his struggles. I stood by him through job changes, tough decisions, and personal setbacks. I never thought twice about lifting him up. But now that it was my moment, he couldn't do the same for me. What's been most painful is realizing how conditional his love seems in hindsight. I thought we were a team, but when I needed encouragement the most, he questioned my integrity, my ambition, and even my loyalty. That kind of doubt can't be brushed aside with a phone call and a casual "let's move on." He keeps texting me, saying he's sorry I felt unsupported, and that he was just scared for me, that he didn't mean to accuse me of anything, that he was projecting his own insecurities. And maybe that's true. I do believe he's hurting. I believe he didn't expect things to unfold like this. But apologies without accountability don't rebuild trust. And I've realized I can't keep making myself smaller to maintain a relationship. I can't dim my light so someone else can feel more secure in their shadow. I'm choosing to move forward, not just professionally, but personally. I'm surrounding myself with people who believe in me and remind me of who I am when I forget. People who celebrate my wins without hesitation and who aren't afraid of my growth. Love should never feel like a negotiation between success and acceptance. Maybe one day we'll talk again, from a place of healing and understanding. But for now, I need to protect my peace and continue building the future I've worked so hard for. In the weeks that followed, I've stayed focused on my project. There's still so much to do, but every step feels lighter, without the weight of someone questioning my every move. I won't pretend it's been easy. There are moments when I catch myself missing the comfort of our routines, the way he used to make me laugh, or how we once dreamed about our future together. But then I remind myself that real love doesn't wither in the face of progress. It grows with it. Some mutual friends have reached out. A few said Tony seems distant, withdrawn, maybe even regretful. One friend asked if I might reconsider, saying that everyone makes mistakes and that he just needs time. I appreciate their concern, but I also know how often women are expected to absorb pain quietly, to be understanding, even when we've been hurt deeply. I'm not angry anymore, but I won't go back to a space where I'm expected to apologize for becoming the person I've worked so hard to be. I've also started therapy, something I'd put off for a while. Talking things through has helped me connect the dots between my past and present. How often I've minimized myself to keep others comfortable. How I equated love with sacrifice. My therapist said something recently that stuck with me. Your ambition is not a threat. It's a mirror, and not everyone is ready to see their reflection. That line has echoed in my mind since. Tony hasn't stopped reaching out. The messages are less frequent now, but they still come. He recently sent one saying he missed me and that he realized he let his fear and past trauma cloud his judgment. He said he wanted another chance to prove he can grow, that he still believes in us. I read it more than once. I thought about all the what-ifs. But the truth is, I don't want to rebuild something that broke at the foundation. Maybe he will change. Maybe he'll do the work and learn to love someone without needing to feel superior or in control. I hope he does, not for me, but for whoever comes next in his life. As for me, I'm still moving forward. There are days filled with uncertainty and days when I feel like I'm flying. But every day, I know I'm choosing myself, not out of selfishness, but out of self-respect. There's a quiet kind of joy in realizing you're finally living the life you once only imagined, and that you did it on your own terms. It was the closing keynote of a Women in Leadership conference. I hadn't planned on sharing anything deeply personal. But when I stood at the podium and looked out at a room full of women, some wide-eyed with ambition, others visibly tired from years of trying to balance too much, I felt something shift inside me. I took a breath, adjusted the mic, and began. I was recently in a relationship with someone I loved deeply. Someone I thought I'd build a life with. We shared goals, dreams, and a belief in each other. Or so I thought. When I finally reached a career milestone I had been working toward for over a decade, instead of support, I was met with skepticism, doubt, even accusations. And for a moment, a long, painful moment, I questioned myself. I thought, maybe I am being unrealistic. Maybe I've reached too far. Maybe I should just be grateful and slow down. But then I realized I wasn't afraid of failing. I was afraid of outgrowing the version of myself that he felt safe with. There was a silence in the room, not heavy, but reflective. I could see women nodding gently, some with glassy eyes. I continued. We don't talk enough about the loneliness that can come with growth. How sometimes the people we love can't come with us, not because they're bad, but because they're not ready. And how painful it is when support turns into resentment. But I'm standing here today, not because I had every door opened for me, but because I learned to stop knocking on doors that were never meant to open. A soft applause began, and I smiled, steady and calm. If you've ever had to choose between love and your light, between comfort and becoming, I want you to know, choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's sacred. You deserve to be seen, celebrated, and supported, not just in your quiet moments, but in your loudest victories. And if someone can't handle your shine, it's okay to let them go. The room erupted, not in wild cheers, but in something deeper. That kind of applause that comes from people who've been there, from women who've stayed silent, dimmed their brilliance, or made themselves small to be loved. Afterward, several women came up to me, sharing pieces of their own stories, their own versions of a partner who couldn't handle their ambition. A boss who called them too much, a family member who said they'd never make it. And in that moment, I realized my story wasn't just mine. It was ours. It had been almost 9 months since the conference. The project had officially launched into its next phase. I had been featured in a couple of industry podcasts, invited to speak at international events, and even landed a profile in a business magazine titled Visionaries of the Future. Things were moving faster than I expected. But for the first time, I felt aligned, as if the external success finally matched the internal work I had done. It was a Thursday afternoon when I saw his name light up on my phone. Tony. I hadn't blocked him. I hadn't needed to. He had mostly stayed silent since his last message months ago. Quiet apology I never replied to. I stared at the screen. No text, just a call. My thumb hovered for a second longer than I'd like to admit, and I answered. Hello? There was a pause. A breath. I didn't think you'd pick up. His voice was familiar and strange all at once. I wasn't sure either, I replied. He sounded more subdued than I remembered, still careful with his words, but not guarded. There was a tiredness in his tone, and something else, humility. I saw the article, he said. You looked proud. I wanted to say congratulations. I mean it. I thanked him, polite, neutral. Then he added, and I also wanted to say I'm sorry, for real this time. I've been doing some work, therapy mostly. It made me realize how much fear I was carrying. I saw your success as proof of my own failure, and that wasn't fair to you. It was the most honest thing he'd said to me in a long time. And it didn't come with excuses or expectations. I appreciate that, I said quietly. He continued, I'm not calling to get you back. I know that door might be closed. I wanted you to hear it from me, not a text. You deserved someone who stood beside you when it mattered most. I wasn't that person. There was silence, a kind, soft silence. I hope you're happy, he added. I smiled gently, not bitter, not wistful, just present. I am, I said, and I hope you will be too. We didn't talk much longer. There was no promise of reconnecting, no cinematic closure. Just two people acknowledging the truth, finally, with clarity. After the call, I stood by the window in my office and watched the city moving below me. I felt lighter, not because I needed his validation, but because I had outgrown the part of me that once did. Sometimes closure doesn't come with fireworks or final kisses. Sometimes it's just a simple truth spoken aloud and a quiet heart that knows it's time to move on. After that final call, Tony didn't reach out again, and I didn't either. There were no more what-ifs, no lingering hope that we'd find our way back to each other. Not out of bitterness, but because some chapters aren't meant to be reopened. Some people are meant to be part of our journey, not our destination. I didn't delete our photos. I didn't throw away old gifts or burn memories. I just let them fade naturally. Like a page well read and gently turned. Because the truth is, healing doesn't always look like dramatic closure. Sometimes it looks like waking up one day and realizing you didn't think about them at all. Sometimes it looks like smiling at a new message without wondering if it should have been theirs. And sometimes it's just sitting in silence and feeling peace instead of pain. I don't hate him. I don't regret loving him. But I've stopped romanticizing what it could have been, because I'm finally living what is. There's a world out there for women like me. Women who dream loudly, build boldly, and love deeply. And while it's easy to shrink ourselves for comfort or cling to the familiarity of what once was, the truth is, we can't step into who we're meant to be while dragging the past behind us. Letting go isn't loss, it's liberation. So if you're reading this and holding on to something or someone that no longer sees your worth, remember this: you are not too much, your dreams are not too big, and your future is not behind you. Keep moving forward. There's more waiting ahead than you ever left behind. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to the channel and leave a like. It really motivates me to keep going and create more stories like this for you.